Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we will talk about the Lucena position, and it is basically a rook and pawn versus rook endgame, and it is a winning position for the attacking side. So how can we actually win this position? Now before we begin, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell in order to get our latest updates. Now without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now here white is trying to promote, but the problem here, if you move your king threatening to promote your pawn next, the black rook just checks you, and there is no way to avoid these checks. If king c7, another check, and whenever the king moves, the rook just keeps on checking. And also you can't zigzag your way to attack the black rook, simply because if you try to attack the rook, the pawn just drops. So how can we make progress in this position? The whole idea here is to use your rook in order to make a shelter for the white king to hide from the rook checks. And to do that, we will show you two techniques. The first is called building a bridge, and the idea of this technique is to bring your king to e5 and then to use your rook to blockade on the fourth rank. The second technique that we will show is to use the rook to blockade on the d file in order to stop the black rook from side checking. So let's see how can we build this Lucena bridge. We first start with a check, and the point of this check is to free the f7 square for our king. And now comes our idea to blockade on the fourth rank, rook to g4. King to h6, trying to attack the rook, and now king to f7. We are threatening now to promote, so black must stop us from doing this, and he gives a check. King to e6, rook check, king to f6, rook to f2 check, king to e5, rook to e2 check, and now we blockade with our rook. And this is the whole idea of putting the rook on g4, is to be able to block this check. And now we are just winning. After the rook trade, we promote, and we are winning. You should note here that this rook check, rook to g1 check, is very important, and we cannot win without it. If we simply try to go rook to f4 immediately, so we can use the same technique to blockade on the fourth rank, the position becomes immediately drawn, because now there is no way to stop black from side checking us, and after rook to a8 check, there is nowhere to hide the white king. King to d7, rook to a7 check, and now the rook keeps on checking, and if we try to attack the black rook, the pawn just simply drops. And the whole idea behind this check is now the black king is cut off 2 files from the white pawn, which means that we have access to this f7 square. And now after rook to g4, if black tries to use the same technique and tries to side check with his rook, this doesn't work because simply we can put our king on f7. Let's now see another way to win. It's basically the same, except this time we're going to use our rook on the d file in order to stop the black rook from side checking. And here we go, rook to d1, rook to a8 check, and now king to d7, rook to a7 check, and now king to e6, rook to a6 check, and now we block, rook to a8 stopping the pawn from promoting, and now rook to d8, and now we are threatening to promote again, so black must give a check, and now we simply attack the black rook, and next we queen our pawn, and we are winning. Now let's see another example where we can use the same techniques that we have just learned in the Lucena position. Here we are trying to promote, so we simply push our pawn to f7, and black has a few ways to try to defend. He can block the queening square with his rook, or he can stop us from queening with his king. He can also give a check, or simply attack the pawn. So let's look at them one by one. First, if rook to c8, now simply we go king to e7, threatening to promote next. And after the rook give a check, now we simply block, and we are queening next move and winning the game. Here if black goes king to g7, we simply give a check, king to h7, and we simply queen. And if black goes king to f8, this is mate in one simply. Now let's see what happens if black gives a check on e1. King to f6, another check, king to e7, another check, and king to f8. Now rook to a1 trying to go for side checks, and we simply go rook to h3 check. After the black king moves, now king to g8, and we are queening next move, and we are winning. Now the last way that black can defend is to go rook to f2, trying to stop the pawn from queening. Now after king to e7, threatening to promote the pawn, rook to e1 check, and now king to f8. We already saw if black goes rook to a1 and tries to go for side checks, rook to h3 wins. Let's now see what happens if black goes rook to f1. Now we reach a somewhat similar position to the one we saw in the first example, and we are going to use the same technique. We are going to use our rook to create a shelter for the white king. So when the black rook checks, we can simply block. And to do that, we are going to go rook to d7, rook to f2, and now king to e8. We are threatening to queen next, so the black rook must give a check. And now we simply block, and we are queening and winning the game. Now let's look at another interesting position. Here the white king is in check, and we can't attack the black rook simply because we drop our pawn. For example, if we go king to e8, rook to c7 check, and now king to d7, rook to e8, keeping control over this important square. And now it looks as if this maneuver is simply winning, but in fact it is not. After rook to a1, king to g7, and rook to e8, now there is this important check, rook to a7 check. Now after the king moves, the pawn just drops. So let's go back. So here king to e8 doesn't do anything. So how can we actually win this position? The idea here is not actually easy to find, and it is to go king to f6. Now after rook to c6 check, king to e5. And now if black simply gives a check with his rook, this makes things easier for us. We simply go king to d6, and after rook to c8, now the maneuver rook to e1, rook to e8 is simply winning. Rook to e1, and this is because black doesn't have any checks here. Instead, if the black rook was on b8 and black had this check, now this maneuver won't be working. But as it is, black is just lost. For example, king to g7, and now rook to e8. Rook check, and we simply queen. So here black shouldn't give this check, and instead he should go rook to c8. And now comes a very beautiful move to win this position, and it's not that easy to find. And if you want to try and find it on your own, you can stop the video and then come back later to see the solution. Here we go, rook to g6. And the idea here is to try to decoy the black rook so that our pawn can queen. Now after king to h7 attacking our rook, rook to c6. Now if the black rook takes, we simply make a queen and we are winning. And here if black stays on the h rank, we simply go king to f6. And now black is hopeless against the maneuver rook to e6 and rook to e8. Black doesn't have anything to do, he simply stays on the h rank, and now rook to e6 and rook to e8, and we are just winning. If black gives a check, we simply attack the black rook, and then we simply queen and we are winning. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell to get our latest videos. If you have any question, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you soon.